In the remote town of Echo Valley, nestled between jagged mountains that seemed to scrape the sky, Eleanor Kane returned to settle her grandmother's estate. The old Victorian house stood on Whisper Hill, its weathered facade a testament to decades of harsh winters and scorching summers. "It'll only be a week," she told herself as she turned the ancient brass key in the lock. The door opened with a groan that seemed almost human. Inside, everything remained as her grandmother had left it. Antique furniture draped in yellowed sheets. Faded photographs in tarnished frames. The lingering scent of lavender and something else, something earthy and metallic. Eleanor had avoided returning for 15 years, not since that summer when she was 13. The summer when her best friend Lily vanished without a trace while they were exploring the woods behind the house. The summer when the nightmares began. That first night back, Eleanor woke at precisely 3:17 a.m., heart hammering against her ribs. In the corner of the bedroom stood a figure, a child-sized silhouette with impossibly long fingers. When she blinked, it was gone. "Stress," she whispered to the empty room. "Just stress and an overactive imagination." The next morning, while sorting through her grandmother's belongings, Eleanor discovered a journal hidden beneath a loose floorboard in the study. The leather-bound book contained entries dating back to 1943, written in her grandmother's precise handwriting. November 4th, 1943. It's happened again. Another child gone. That makes 7 since the mining accident. The town council insists there's no connection, but I know better. They were all found in the same condition. Physically unharmed, but emptied somehow. Like shells with nothing inside, that Eleanor's blood ran cold. She'd never heard about missing children in Echo Valley, apart from Lily. She flipped forward several decades. June 17th, 1978. I've sealed the threshold in the cellar. The symbol should hold for my lifetime at least. Too many have paid the price for what my father and the other miners unleashed. If only they'd left that chamber sealed. The journal entries grew increasingly cryptic after that, filled with references to the hunger beyond the veil and the whispering ones. The final entry was dated just 3 days before her grandmother's death. April 30th, 2024. The seals are weakening. I can hear them scratching at night. Eleanor must never return to Echo Valley. They remember her. Eleanor closed the journal with trembling hands. That night, she forced herself to descend into the cellar with only a flashlight to guide her. The stairs creaked beneath her weight as she swept the beam of light across the damp walls. In the farthest corner, behind an old workbench, she found it, a door she'd never noticed during childhood explorations. It was small, almost child-sized, and covered in strange symbols carved into the wood. Some of the carvings were broken. The wood splintered as if clawed from the other side. As Eleanor approached, the temperature plummeted. Her breath formed clouds in the suddenly frigid air. From beyond the door came a sound, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like slender fingers drumming impatiently. Then a voice, high and sweet. "Eleanor, is it you? I've been waiting so long." It sounded exactly like Lily. The door handle began to turn slowly on its own. Eleanor backed away, her heart thundering in her chest. As she reached the stairs, the voice changed, becoming a chorus of whispers that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We remember you, Eleanor. We kept a place for you." She fled upstairs and locked herself in her grandmother's bedroom, pushing a heavy dresser against the door. Sleep eluded her as she pored over the journal, searching for answers by dawn. She understood. 80 years ago, miners had broken through to something ancient that existed in the spaces between worlds. The accident that killed 27 men had been a cover story. What they'd unleashed had been feeding on the town ever since, taking children who were sensitive to its call, like Lily had been. Like Eleanor was on her 3rd night in the house. Eleanor woke to find her bedroom door wide open. The dresser moved aside without a sound. Down the hallway, a trail of wet footprints led toward the cellar door. Eleanor followed, armed with the knowledge gleaned from her grandmother's journal and a mixture of salt, iron filings, and her own blood, the components of the seal her grandmother had used decades ago. The cellar door stood open. The footprints continued down the stairs. "You don't belong here," Eleanor called out, her voice steadier than she felt. "This isn't your world." Laughter echoed up from below, the mingled voices of children spanning generations. Among them, she recognized Lily's. "Neither do you, Eleanor," came the reply. "You've always been partly ours. We've been patient." At the bottom of the stairs, the small door now stood fully open, revealing not a wall or storage space, but a threshold. Beyond it lay a landscape of twisted shapes and impossible angles, bathed in a light that seemed to absorb rather than illuminate. Silhouettes moved within, elongated figures with too many joints that bent in unnatural directions. In the center stood Lily, or something wearing her face. Her eyes were black voids, her smile too wide, her arms outstretched in welcome. "Join us, Eleanor. It doesn't hurt. You just become more." For a moment, Eleanor felt the pull, a yearning to step through and finally understand the mysteries that had haunted her since childhood. Part of her recognized this place, as if she'd glimpsed it in dreams her entire life. Instead, she broke the seal her grandmother had prepared, smearing the mixture across the threshold while reciting the words written in the journal. The figures beyond shrieked, a sound like glass shattering against steel. The door began to close, reality reasserting itself. As the gap narrowed, Lily's face contorted with rage, her form stretching and twisting into something inhuman. "You can't keep us out forever, Eleanor," she hissed, her voice now a discordant chorus. "The threshold exists in every mirror, every shadow, every reflection. We'll find another way through." The door sealed with a flash of blue light, leaving Eleanor alone in the cellar. She reinforced the symbols her grandmother had carved, adding her own modifications based on what she'd learned. It would hold, for now. That night, as she packed to leave Echo Valley, Eleanor caught movement in her peripheral vision. Every mirror in the house now showed a different room than the one it should reflect, a landscape of twisted shapes and impossible angles. And in each reflection, figures stood watching her, their elongated fingers pressed against the glass, waiting.